I want to keep this as succinct as I can so that it can be used as a tool, because this book is kind of where it's at. Dookie agrees. So, long story short, I was playing some trivia on Jeremy Bird's channel every Saturday night. We rock some trivia, and I won this book. And I just thought it was another flat Earth book. It goes deeper than that. It's really interesting. I kind of want to big it up, but I think it's only fair to let it unfold as everyone else can experience it going in fresh. So I want to not blab too much. I'm going to surface here and there to say hi, everybody in the chat, mainly Soups. How's it going, buddy? So yeah, I'm going to take you through it. Now, I want to, and I have permission from Mr. Davis, beep, boop, beep, conditionally to read it, because it is for sale, okay? It's very easy to find it on Amazon. I typed in True Earth Whisperer book, Sonny Davis. Boom. Okay, so I am lucky enough to have the hard copy. It is available on Kindle and paperback as well. So please, if this book resonates with you as it has with me, don't hesitate to pick up a copy. I really think it's a positive tool for people who like to question things and talk about things. Perhaps they are controversial things, say, oh, I don't know, conspiracy labeled things, in particular, perhaps the shape of the realm we live in. I'm just going to go in here. So I'm going to cut right to the meat and potatoes here. You can buy the book and soak in all the goodies at the beginning. There's a contents list. There's a lot of arguing that goes on in the world, and I think it's because, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to relate to others. We want to feel like we're understood. We want to figure stuff out, and it can be easy to become passionate about something really fast and, position yourself, unfortunately, like everything else in the world, as, right or wrong, or black or white, or blue or red, or, fill in the blanks. So, I'm just going to go right in. All right. So, again, this is available on Amazon. I'm lucky enough to have the hard copy. JJ, Lev, thank you so much for coming to join. We're going to do it's the middle of a beautiful afternoon, and twere not for the bugs, I'd probably be outside, but it feels like a good storytelling time right now. So chapter 1, the truth is dangerous. Let's see. Can I get this so I can read it and you can see it? Yes, I can. Truth must first pass through the narrow gate of ridicule, where it is mocked and dismissed as folly. Then it faces the storm of resistance, met with fierce opposition and denial. Only when it endures both mockery and struggle does truth finally stand revealed, embraced as self-evident and undeniable by those willing to see. Trigger warning. What follows may challenge some of your deepest assumptions. If you feel the impulse to scoff, to roll your eyes, or to jump ship before the first page is even turned, I invite you to resist. Override that reflex. you might discover that the greatest revelations in life often appear at the exact moment you are most tempted to walk away. In every age, truth has been dangerous. There have always been those called to speak it. Souls who, for reasons only the unseen knows, are granted glimpses behind the veil or witness events too vital to be forgotten. Compelled by something deep in their bones, they became priests, prophets, and outcasts. They stood on their chosen hill, willing to risk everything to give voice to what they knew as gospel. Those who saw behind the veil were often hunted, branded heretics, madmen, or fools. In ages past, they spoke in temples and sanctuaries bound to sacred rites and ancient memory. They were witnesses, seekers, and messengers, keepers of old flame, watchers of darkness. They remembered what others forgot, something our ancestors always already knew. But in today's modern world of endless clamor and interference, manufactured realities, and systematic deception, a new kind of witness has emerged. No longer cloaked in robes or speaking from altars, they rise in unexpected forms. They call themselves truthers. The word truther has shifted in meaning over time, shaped by context and cultural winds. At its most basic level, it points to someone who seeks, or at least claims to seek, the truth of reality, often in contrast to the stories handed down through official channels. Yet behind the surface definition lies a deeper current, one that reveals something about the human longing for clarity, justice, and authenticity. At its heart, a truther is one who dares to question. They doubt official or widely accepted accounts and refuse to accept consensus as certainty. They pursue knowledge, not simply for curiosity's sake, but as a path towards righteousness, justice, and moral clarity, and they long for others to awaken to confront what they believe to be reality unfiltered by propaganda, power, or illusion. In modern usage, the word often appears in connections with movements, the most well-known being the so-called 9/11 truthers. In these contexts, the term describes those who reject government or institutional explanations and who follow alternative narratives. Many critics use the label as a dismissal, reducing the seeker of truth to a caricature of conspiracy or extremism. Yet many who carry the name embrace it with pride, wearing it as a mark of critical thought, courage, and resistance to deception. For them, to be a truther is not to submit to a manufactured reality, but to stand apart from it. There is, however, a richer way to understand the word, one that moves beyond politics or historical disputes. To be a truther is not only to doubt official stories, but to cultivate a way of living rooted in the ethic of seeking righteousness. It is to long for justice and fairness in the world. It is to share insights with the hope of awakening others from complacency or illusion. It is to strive, above all, to align one's life with reality itself, however difficult or inconvenient that reality may be. In the most elevated sense, a truther is not simply a skeptic and not merely a collector of hidden facts. A truther is one who relentlessly pursues reality, who questions illusions, and who seeks to guide others toward awareness and righteousness. It is a path that is less about opposition and more about devotion, a devotion to what is true, no matter how obscured, costly, or uncomfortable. But is today's so-called truther truly a seeker of the sacred? Do they carry the living, breathing knowledge that once guided those who spoke for the earth, the stars, and the soul? The ancients sought truth etched in stone, sky, and water. They did not seek it for clout or conquest, but to remember what was always already ours. Has something been lost in translation? In this age of clickbait, algorithm-fed outrage, and performative dissent, has the modern truth movement traded depth for spectacle and wisdom for racket? The truth seekers of old were not chasing enemies, they were chasing the eternal. Their task was not to win debates, but to pierce illusion. They sought to feel the pulse of the earth beneath their feet, to see with the inner eye, and to speak from a place beyond ego. We already know the lies are real. The real question is whether today's truthers are truly aligned with that ancient current or simply reacting to shadows on the wall. Are they liberators or are they just another tribe shouting from the sidelines of empire? This book is an invitation to return to the older current, a current where truth is not a headline or a hill to die on, but a frequency to remember, a way of seeing, a way of walking in the world. Many now wear the title seeker of truth like a badge, calling themselves truthers as if truth were something to display rather than a fire to walk through. But if the ancient methods have not burned through your illusions, you are still performing. The modern truther often chases dopamine in the echo chamber of conspiracy, still circling the carnival of ego, still mistaking noise for knowing. If you have not stepped into the raw and unfiltered furnace of a dyad, you are still on the playground, just another tattletale trying to win the prize for being the most informed. Calling out villains from the rooftop, while your own house quietly burns. That is the tattle truther, the one with the megaphone yelling that the water is wet while everyone else rolls their eyes. There are more of them than most would admit. Call them what you like, truthers, seekers, conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers. Can I say that? Yeah, it's in a book. Anti-vaxxers, fringe dwellers, flat earthers, they walk among us. Bakers, mechanics, yoga teachers, architects, pilots, even your favorite sports stars. And celebrities. Sometimes it is the eccentric uncle who sends ancient maps and obscure videos at 2 in the morning. There are those people who are not driven by a blind rebellion. They are moved by something else, a stubborn and inconvenient hunger for truth. They have studied logic. They know the art of reasoning. They dismantle beliefs carefully, brick by brick. But above all, they have a deep intolerance for lies, and especially for being lied to. They possess an uncanny ability to discern falsehood from a distance, a relentless instinct for inquiry, and a profound abhorrence for those who deceive with intent or engage in deception by design. And while the mainstream insists we live on a spinning water ball, tilted and hurtling through a vacuum, supported by theories stacked upon theories and forces we cannot see or measure, the question remains. Not because people are ignorant, but because deep in the core something whispers that the official story does not fit. What if everything we have ever been told about where you are living is wrong? Not slightly wrong, not a few details missing, but wrong at the very root. We are told from the earliest days of childhood that we live on a giant spinning ball. This ball, experts say, races through space while orbiting an enormous sun which itself hurtles through an endless universe. This story is presented as fact, repeated so often that it becomes invisible in its familiarity, and few ever stop to question it. Imagine this. You are standing on a wind-battered cliff at the edge of a great sea. The horizon stretches unbroken in every direction, the sky and water melting into single line. There is no curvature to be seen, only an unyielding plain. Your senses tell you one story. The voice of the world tells you another. Which do you believe? Now consider another picture, a world immense and unshifting, its surface extending beyond the limits of sight. The great waters of the oceans lie encircled by a monumental rampart of ice an ice wall, a natural citadel that holds them at the threshold of the outer limits of the unknown realm. Above this realm, under a solid and transparent dome, the sun and moon travel in perfectly measured circles that appear to be rising and setting in a continuous cycle. The stars wheel overhead like clockwork, fixed in patterns that never drift, an image consonant with the ancient Hebrew cosmological and geocentric level earth tradition, commonly referred to as the flat earth. It is a vision that may strike modern sensibilities as peculiar, yet it has persisted in diverse forms for millennia. It is one of humanity's oldest cosmologies, long dismissed and ridiculed, yet never entirely extinguished. And now, as history begins to unearth its forgotten layers, those with eyes to see are starting to discern what was already hidden in plain sight. The debate over it has reached an impasse. Exhibit A, Exhibit B have been placed on the table. Every argument has been made, every counterpoint repeated. We are no longer short on evidence. We are drowning in it, with both sides interpreting the same pieces in entirely different ways. Words alone cannot bridge the divide. The debate over this idea has now reached a point of futility. We are at a standstill, not because there is no evidence, but because there is too much piled high, interpreted differently, and filtered through worldviews so deeply rooted that they feel immovable. As the philosopher Francis Bacon once wrote in the New Organon, that's 1620, truth is often found by passing through error and confusion. And in recent years, the flat earth question has reemerged, not in whispers, but in an explosion of curiosity. Around 2015, the topic spread rapidly online, drawing in both seasoned researchers and ordinary people asking simple, unsettling questions. The philosopher Thomas Kuhn noted that science does not progress in an orderly step-by-step march forward. Instead, it advances in great leaps during periods of upheaval when the prevailing model no longer works. At such moments, defenders of the old order rarely respond with openness. They accuse, they label, they condemn. In the past, the charge was heresy. Today, it's conspiracy. A paradigm does not fade away gently, it breaks. Today, the official model of a spinning sphere in a galaxy of billions is beginning to show cracks. Whether these fractures will lead to a genuine scientific revolution remains unknown, but the strain is evident. Nearly all of what we are told about our planet and the cosmos comes from a handful of agencies that not only share a monopoly over, quote, space, but also share certain symbolic markers in their logos. Every image, every measurement, every claimed discovery about the earth and the heavens passes through the same narrow gate, yet symbols of another view have persisted in plain sight. The United Nations emblem, with its azimuthal equidistant projection map, Masonic imagery hidden in art, cinema, and children's cartoons, repeating patterns in so-called Illuminati games. If those who shape the story do not truly know the shape of the earth, then who does? These moments are marked by a growing crisis in science, where the defenders of the existing order cling to their structure even as its foundations crack. What we see is shaped not only by what lies before our eyes, but what we are taught to expect. For generations, the globe has been etched into our minds as the only possible reality. Anything that challenges it is dismissed, not only from science, but from the realm of acceptable thought. It is quietly acknowledged in academic circles, in unspoken admissions, in contradictions that no one in authority is willing to address openly. The consensus is in quiet crisis. If the heliocentric hypothesis collapses, the question will not simply be whether the Earth is flat or round. It will be whether we have ever truly seen the world for ourselves at all. The flat Earth model is not a relic of the past. It is a living framework shaped by centuries of observation, exploration, and inquiry. It stands in direct contrast to the spinning globe narrative that has been woven into the fabric of modern life. At this juncture, the exchange has exhausted its usefulness and is now just loitering. The debate has reached a point of diminishing returns. The point where the conversation is just moving in concentric circles and pretending it's going somewhere. Both sides have dug trenches, clinging to their versions of reality, yet the truth cannot be trapped in a war of words. The term flat earth has become a source of confusion and anger. It carries stigma that often blinds both supporters and critics alike, trapping the conversation in ridicule and misunderstanding. This is why revolution in the name itself has taken root. For the purposes of this book and to cut through the stigma of that loaded word, a new name has emerged: True Earth. We find ourselves at the brink of a revolution, not of swords or guns, but of perception and understanding. The crisis within scientific consensus is undeniable. Institutions, once deemed unshakable, now face questions they cannot easily answer. This revolution calls for a return to direct experience, to evidence grounded in observation and experiment, to a deeper way of knowing that is not dictated but discovered. Those who take it upon themselves to fact-check institutions and conduct their own study are self-proclaimed, becoming known today as true earthers. They represent a new modern breed of explorers and seekers committed to uncovering and telling the truth. With so many intricate conversations surrounding the true shape and nature of our world, I could have written a book addressing every claim and counterclaim I have encountered in over a decade of my own inquiry. But much of what is most important cannot be told. It must be shown. Here, I place a spotlight on what truly matters, the elements that expand horizons and open doors and minds instead of closing them. I choose to concentrate on the most vital facets, the ones that illuminate paths forward and unlock doors to perception and possibility, and that offer the greatest context for moving forward together in the search for truth. Excuse me. While this book explores several aspects surrounding the oldest and hottest topic on Earth, it does so to provide supporting information and to emphasize the importance of how this conversation is being handled, along with offering a possible way out of the out of the nest of tangled weeds. While this is a true Earth book that seeks to illuminate both what we have always believed and what we have yet to know, it is also something more. It is a guidebook for introducing an alternative to debate through the ancient practice of partnered dyads. That is what I have chosen to focus on, the facets I believe are most essential, those that bring greater contexts, and to pair them with a method that invites direct personal discovery. In the end, it is not enough to inherit a belief, whether from school, religion, science, or culture. We must learn to see the world with our own eyes, not just through the lenses handed to us. Only then can we begin to tell if what we have been shown is the truth, or simply the longest running illusion in history. Excuse me. Dyads offer a way out of the serpent's lair, where truth itself is strangled. It is a means of cutting through the cacophony to discover truth through two-way inquiry and presence. I hope to substantiate these ideas with my own accounts, stories, and experiments, not as a final answers, but as invitations to look again, to question again, and to explore again. My intention is to inspire, not through argument, but through example, observation, and mutual discovery. The crisis in scientific consensus is now impossible to ignore. Institutions once regarded as infallible are being questioned by growing numbers of people who demand evidence that can be seen, tested, and verified in the real world. Even prominent physicists like Michio Kaku have acknowledged the scale of this uncertainty, noting that in cosmology, our theories can be off by a factor of 10 to the 120th. A discrepancy so vast it stands as the greatest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. That comparison underscores just how uncertain or even fundamentally flawed our current cosmological models may be. Yet this moment does not signal chaos. It signals an invitation. It invites a return to a more grounded, experiential way of knowing, provided we have the tools and the willingness to engage with reality directly, rather than rely on inherited interpretations of the world. This debate has lasted for millennia, long before satellites or astronauts, sages and scholars asked what it was we truly stood upon. And still, we are told to trust models we cannot verify, equations we do not understand, and authorities we are not allowed to question. Get. But the seekers persist. They keep asking the questions that children once asked before they were taught to be ashamed of their wonder. This is not a fringe conversation, it is a movement. But until you have sat face to face with another human being, dropped the performance, and stepped into the sacred fire of a dyad, you have not yet begun. You are echoing borrowed insight. You are high-fiving your ego with secondhand revelation. Debating truth is often the refuge of those afraid to face it directly. The louder the debate, the quieter truth becomes. Truth does not shout. It does not compete. It waits in silence after the last word falls. It lives in the space between two people willing to let go of what they believe. If you have not entered the sacred space of dyadic inquiry, you are still at the edge, still sightseeing, still in the parking lot. Talk is cheap. The road is waiting. Everything else is just a detour. I love this book. I am telling you. Just gonna take a minute here. It's so true. I mean, how many people who enjoy knowing things like maybe we're not hurtling into space? We used to, at one point, at least myself, tune into debates, and it felt like you got to get in there and get your word in. And like now, I'm at the point I'm just it is there's a futility to it, you know. People gonna think what they want, so let us proceed. want to see if I can. All right. Are you done? Are you done? Come on. Get in here. Duke. Here's a good boy. Yeah, it's time for chapter 2. It's time for chapter 2. The earth, the earth that you see, pay attention to this one. This is interesting in itself. The earth you see is the you that you are. That's like I heard a saying once, I am not what you think I am. You are what you think I am, right? All right, let's do this. Truth is not always proof seen with the eyes, but a knowing felt in the heart. To dwell in such knowledge is to walk with open hands, embracing mystery, unlearning the old views, and allowing the world to reveal itself as a living, breathing reflection of the consciousness within. The universe appears as objects only when seen from a point of view bound within the dream of space and time. From this position, perception divides what is whole, casting shapes and boundaries upon what is without boundary. Yet apart from all vantage points, the universe is not an object, nor a collection of objects, nor anything conditioned by space or time. It is a seamless, indivisible singularity, silent, unbroken, and whole beyond appearance. It does not vanish when unobserved, nor is it summoned into being by the act of perception. The real does not arise and does not pass. As it is, the universe is not a thing to be grasped, not a form to be seen, not a thought to be held. It is the living happening of reality itself, one with the self-nature, self-condition, and self-state of all that is. Every word about an objective universe belongs to the realm of appearances, to the narrow corridor of point of view. Space and time are but reflections in the mirror of a mind. Are but reflections in the mirror of mind. Concepts born from the standpoint of the perceiver, not qualities of what is. The universe as it is cannot be known in the common way of knowing, for such knowing depends on the separation of knower and known. This separation does not exist in reality itself. The real may be tasted, felt, lived, but never grasped by the hand of thought. It is prior to space and time, prior to perception and conception, prior to all acts of measuring and naming. It is self-existing, self-radiant, ever-present. It is whole, indivisible, uncaused, and free from all conditions. It cannot be studied as an object, for it is the subject itself. The luminous ground in which all subjects and objects appear. It can only be directly recognized in the stillness where knower and known dissolve. This recognition, perfect self-knowledge, is the awakening to one's own true nature as not apart from the universe, but as the universe itself. Egoless, unconditioned, changeless, and always already complete. In this, the self and reality are revealed to be one and the same. And what is known is not a thing, but the timeless fact of being. People have argued for centuries about the Earth's true figure. A globe, flat, something else. This debate is only a surface layer, a distraction much like many other polarities in this matrix. The deeper truth is multidimensional. The deeper truth is you. What the Earth is depends entirely on how and where you are looking. The Earth is not what we have been taught to think it is. It is not a cold, lifeless rock spinning through an empty void. Your intuition is correct. Earth is alive. It is conscious. It is a living field of intelligence and a biospiritual architecture. It is a plasma harmonic toroidal construct, a dimensional hosting field designed to interface the oversoul with the destiny, with the density of matter. It is not merely where you live, but an extension of your being. You are encoded to interface with it, to transmute through it, and to evolve within it. Its rhythms move through your breath, your heartbeat, your dreams. You are made to be in relationship with it, to grow and change through that relationship, to be shaped by it as much as you shape it. To the physical senses, Earth is forests and oceans, mountains and deserts, cities and villages, a world of wind and stone and tide. It is governed by the familiar cycles of time and space, energy and survival. Viewed through subtler planes, however, its form changes. On the astral or etheric levels, Earth is a living lattice of sacred geometry and light pathways and interwoven carbon electric grid where consciousness and energy dance in patterns too fine for ordinary eyes. From the higher vantage of spirit, Earth reveals itself as a luminous breathing pattern, a radiant toroidal fractal flower whose petals are layers of frequency nested within one another. It is a divine host construct, a soul school encoded with harmonics, geometries, and memory vaults. Here, form dissolves into frequency, and what you perceive is shaped entirely by the consciousness you bring. Those who see a flat plane are not wrong. They are perceiving one layer of a greater projection from a particular density. The horizon is not the curve of a ball, but the vanishing point of our sight and the bending of light through the atmosphere. The sun does not sink below an edge, but continues along its path, shifting in appearance through perspective. Most of us live within a narrow band of perception, seeing through lenses we have inherited. Truth is not hidden in arguments over geometric models, but in the pulse of the earth itself, in the movement of energy, the migration of awareness across dimensions, and the way consciousness can step from one reality into another. This is the lost science of dimensional movement, the key to seeing how Earth's many forms reveal themselves as frequency rises. Amazing. To live in this understanding, we must accept that not all truths come with measurements and proofs. Some truths are felt. They grow slowly in the heart. They become clear in the spaces between thoughts. This is not blind belief, but trust born from direct experience. contemplation, and the courage to walk without all the answers. It is the humility to admit we do not yet see the whole and the grace to live with mystery. We compose ourselves through practices that open our senses, quiet walks, stillness, prayer, meditation, ritual, and moments of listening without agenda. We learn to unlearn before we try to know. We learn to live inside the questions without rushing towards answers. Over time, something changes. Forgotten strands of your higher DNA awaken. Forgotten parts of your soul stir, and with them, Earth reveals more of itself. It is not a fixed shape, but a breathing lattice of light, sound, and geometry. A sacred, multi-dimensional Merkaba reflecting your own awareness. The earth you perceive mirrors the you that you are. Change your inner frequency, and the whole world will change with you. Okay, there's so much to, like, I'm loving the part that someone is rooting for us to go with our gut. Honestly, I gotta say that is really important, because some things we know are presented to us in half truths. We know this, and some people just want to hear the part of it that matches with what they know so far and just assume the rest. And like, personally, I've never been good with that, you know. I'm not into, I gotta get a table here, it's hard to hold. I'm not into just believing what I'm being told. I've never been down with that. Even, you know, when I saw Gleason's, I was like, oh, that's cool. And I wanted deeply to just go, that is that. And you can't really, you know, you can't really just, labels, that's where they get you. Because now you're done learning, right? It's like, you've got, you know, between being right or wrong, you can sit on the fence, as it were, kind of in the middle, right? I think that's where your peace is. I don't want to just conclude. I want to learn forever. That's, if this is a school for us to be here, then I don't know. Do you guys, let's see. Do you guys want to see the words? I know I'm doing a horrible job of keeping it steady. Let's take a voterino here. Do you guys just want to see my head bobbing above the cool book, or wait a minute, let me rephrase that. So if you want to see the words, drop ones. If you don't care, put twos. If you want to see, I don't know, guitars or something. All right. So we'll skip the words. We don't need the text. Okay. Phew! It was hard holding both of them. I'm not gonna lie. So I got a bunch of paraphernalia on my table I don't really want to point. So, all right. Well, you're stuck with me then. Chapter 3. Shall we? Koresh, Corey Cox. I don't know you, but welcome. Exactly, right? Literally follow the bouncing ball. Doing-de doing-de doing. That was a thing, I think, when my parents watched television, and they would have, like, you know, you'd sing along because they had the words, and then boing, boing, boing. There would be an actual bouncing ball. Anyways, you're here for the book, not my musings. Chapter 3. Earth is not what you think. The official scientific proclamation by the authority of the ever-shifting consensus. Let it be known that today's facts are provisional, tomorrow's myths are inevitable, and the pursuit of truth is a roller coaster with no brakes. Herein lies the sacred tenet. Question everything, including this proclamation. Signed, the Committee for the Promotion of Uncertainty and Ambiguity, grant-funded, peer-reviewed, and possibly correct. All right, let's be honest. Humans love a good either or. If there's one thing our species excels at, it's dividing the room. This or that. Team Coke or Team Pepsi. Flat or globe. Simulation or nah, bro, it's all spiritual. While plenty of ridiculous binaries float around, two have turned up their megaphones lately. Material versus spiritual and science versus faith. The clash between atheists and Gnostics is a timeless struggle between faith in the unseen and trust in the measurable. They mirror each other's paradox. One places faith in the absence of God, the other in the presence of mystery. Both believer and atheist stand firm on their demands for evidence, yet are entangled in unseen forces neither can measure or escape. In their war over truth, both forget they are carried by the same invisible current. Both orbit an unknown, arguing over who stands on solid ground, blind to the fact that neither can prove or escape the invisible that binds them. Certainty is their collective illusion. Mystery remains the only constant. Two sides of the same coin, each calling the other blind. Perhaps the atheist's faith is in reason, while the believer's reason is in faith. In no age has the clash between belief and doubt burned brighter than today's battle over the shape of the earth. This fight is the latest chapter in humanity's oldest paradox. Both sides claim truth and demand proof, while clinging to opposing certainties. When did modern science become a new religion, while the ancient measurements of the oldest history books sleep forgotten in dusty scrolls? Pick a side, they say. Join the club. Chant the slogans. Post the memes. We're told we must choose to belong, to be safe, to be righteous, to be awake. But what if neither side holds the whole of it? This polarity finds one of its grandest rituals in the arena of sports. What seems to be harmless recreation is in truth a carefully choreographed ceremony of division. Two sides are set against each other, their struggle magnified into spectacle, while crowds gather to chant, cheer, and surrender themselves to the drama. On the surface, it is only a game, yet beneath it lies something far older and far deeper, the human hunger for meaning. Once satisfied through sacred ritual, now redirected into the theater of competition. The lessons absorbed in these gatherings are subtle yet profound. We are taught to divide, to pledge allegiance to colors, symbols, sides, see our triumph mirrored in another's defeat. This conditioning does not remain confined to the stadium. It spills outward, shaping politics, shaping nations, shaping the very lens through which we see the world. What was once ritual for unity with the divine has been replaced with ritual for loyalty to rivalry. Where sacred ceremony once bound communities in reverence, mass entertainment binds them in opposition. The system thrives on this design, for a divided people are easier to steer. Conflict becomes the story of life itself, and few pause to question who benefits from the endless cycle of rivalry. Spiritual longing is pacified with spectacle, and unity is traded for the illusion of victory. In this way, sports serve as a mirror of the deeper spell at work in society, a substitution of sacred truth with manufactured division, keeping humanity enthralled by the game and distracted from the greater mystery of who we are and what we share. Yet awakening begins the moment we see through the illusion. When we recognize the game for what it is, we begin to reclaim our longing for something real. Ritual need not be abandoned, only restored to its higher purpose, to remind us of our shared breath, our shared ground, and our shared origin. The same energy that is now poured into rivalry can be transformed into celebration, not of one side's triumph over another, but of the wonder of life itself. When the spell of division is broken, a new kind of play becomes possible, one rooted in unity, reverence, and the joy of creation. Our culture loves to pit these ideas against each other like rival gods in an ancient myth, each promising salvation and condemning the other. What if both are incomplete? What if both serve a purpose, yet neither has the final word? Here is a crazy idea. If both camps are missing the point, what if the biggest secret is that truth does not care which flag you wave? You may still align with science. There is nothing wrong with standing by good science. Science remains a beautiful thing. You can embrace science without bowing to bad science. True science invites inquiry, where bad science demands compliance. True science stands on curiosity, while bad science leans on censorship. Pseudoscience dresses up in a lab coat, trusting you will not notice the difference or ask questions. There is a real science, bought science, and pantomime science masquerading as fact. Know the differences. Let us step outside the realm of dualities for a moment, not to dismiss or deny them, but to see them as constructs, temporary games our culture amplifies, boxes up, and markets back to us as truth. Real understanding does not live in the fight between two halves. It lives outside the ring altogether. While all are welcome, this book will most resonate with seekers who acknowledge a creator, source, or higher order. It is intended for those open to spiritual realities beyond the physical realm, beyond material explanations, whose worldview includes the spiritual, the unseen, and the sacred. For those attuned to the idea that meaning and purpose come from recognizing a higher intelligence at work in reality, this book is for you. So I am just going to say it. If this is your first trigger, this is more fun. If this is your first trigger, perhaps you are an atheist. However, you are in good company. Let us drop the polite small talk and cut straight to the cosmic nudity. Most people who call themselves truth seekers are not actually seeking the truth. They seek validation, community, and the dopamine hit of feeling like they are on the right side of something. How do I know this? Just follow the money. When someone with a string of letters beside their name regurgitates facts as absolute truth, stop and ask yourself, is that real? Or was it packaged, polished, and sold as education, bought and paid for? When peer-reviewed papers are waved around like holy scripture, ask, who funds those studies? Who paid for the outcome they needed? Who profits when the findings confirm the narrative? Just follow the money. In the hidden currents of human discourse, four shadowed archetypes move, each feeding in the next in a rising tide of deception. The troll. The troll is the lowest ripple, a trickster spirit who delights in disruption. They descend into conversations with insult, provocation, a racket, turning dialogues into ego battles. Yes, yes. Their chaos is crude, yet effective, scattering focus so no truth can take root. The shill stands above the troll, polished and patient like the court advisor of old. They pose as a comrade while quietly serving the powers they deny. Their job is to reinforce approved narratives, to mock dissent subtly, and to keep the mind from wandering beyond sanctioned borders. The grifter rises next, the charming charlatan of the marketplace. They attach themselves to causes not for truth, but for gain, collecting followers and donations while offering illusions of change. They harvest trust like coin, then vanish, leaving confusion in their wake. At the peak sits the paid, controlled opposition, the false prophet of ancient warning. They rise as champions of the people, infiltrating movements with conviction so convincing it disarms the wise. Once at the center, they redirect the energy toward infighting, false victories, or carefully limited truths. These are the gatekeepers of the greatest secrets, their loyalty pledged not to the cause they lead, but to the paymasters who placed them there. Together, these four form a ladder of manipulation, each rung leading deeper into the architecture of control. To see them clearly is to see the golden thread that binds them all. Follow that thread and it will not lead to enlightenment, but to a vault. And upon its locked door is written the oldest warning in the book of human power. Just follow the money. When a popular YouTuber racks up followers and proudly hangs that silver or gold play button plaque behind them, you better believe there is compensation for the content they produce. It might not be much, not enough to feed their family, but a little money for promoting the right facts that can turn into a lot more for promoting the next videos and the next and the next. Facts that just so happen to be boosted by algorithms, welcomed by the establishment, celebrated and awarded for preserving the preferred message. Just follow the money. Yes, it happens on both sides, but one side gets paid very well, while the other always gets the short end of the stick. It's very obvious. You can see it with your own eyes. It should be crystal clear who gets paid to promote what. More followers means consensus. Consensus means agreement. Agreement means enthusiasm, and enthusiasm leads to more money. But why should this even matter? Why should drinking Coke be better than drinking Pepsi? I do not know anyone who chooses to make a living debating which soda to drink, other than the companies themselves who are advertising in our faces 24/7. Side note, this is the author. Always Coca-Cola. Just kidding. I would not go near that sugary shite. It is not healthy, and I have piles of peer-reviewed studies, evidence, and proofs showing how bad it is for our bodies. I am not being paid to say this. Just trust me, bro. If you apply the slightest bit of intellectual honesty, is it really about truth for these people or about the paycheck? Would their motivations to blast opinions into the void be half as strong if no money was involved? Is it the algorithm, or are there deeper forces at work? Hidden controllers of this realm, governments and bureaucracies, gatekeepers with a god complex, maybe forces more sinister than we care to admit? Institutions and invisible hands work overtime behind the curtain, nudging the narrative, shaping what is seen, burying what isn't. The question is not if they exist, It is who benefits when you stop asking questions, doing anything to quell and conquer dissenting voices to preserve orthodoxy. Just follow the money. Who makes bank by being anti-flat earth, and who gets rich being anti-globe? It is not hard to see where the financial wind blows. More often than not, it has nothing to do with truth. They all get paychecks and kicks, not from seeking, but from squashing, debunking, ridiculing, not exploring, not wondering, not questioning. What are we doing right now? I may be showing you my bias, but it stands to reason. If something shakes your sovereignty, makes you doubt your own senses, gaslights your awareness, insults your soul, you owe it to yourself to stop and ask, is this actual truth or just propaganda? Just follow the money. If that stings a little, good, it should. Most people are not after truth. They seek the illusion of control dressed up as certainty. They call it seeking to avoid admitting they are still hiding. And here, to me, is the real kick in the pants and what both sides love to say. The earth is not a globe. The earth is not a flat disc. It's neither. That might sound too far out for some, too new age, too detached from the zetetic discipline of measurable, demonstrable reality. To others, it reeks of spiritual ego, too lazy to do the hard work of direct observation and measurement, too cool for school to question what they actually believe and why. They just enjoy being indifferent members of the both sides club. It is far easier to bypass both pop culture and establishment science by naively declaring, it's all interdimensional, man, or we're in a simulation. That way, you do not have to confront what has already been discovered or test it for yourself. You can dismiss centuries of observation and project another mystical McTheory onto everything one immune to scrutiny. While meditation, psychedelics, breathwork, and other mystical experiences have their place, if you have never fired a laser across a standing body of water or interrogated clues encoded in scripture, if you rashly hand wave away observable empirical evidence as it's all spiritual, bro, then you are not seeking truth either. You are just avoiding it. Forget what you have been told. This place is not what you think it is. It is far stranger and more intelligent than we were programmed to believe. Earth is alive, not metaphorically or symbolically, literally. A living, breathing, multidimensional entity existing not in one isolated dimension, but simultaneously across multiple planes of reality. What we perceive with our limited senses is one thin layer of a vast layered field of consciousness. Its pulse is woven into the fabric of our bodies. Its memory runs deeper than history, deeper than myth, carrying records of everything that has ever unfolded upon its surface and within its unseen realms. The forests, rivers, oceans, and stones are not passive witnesses. They are the bones and the breath of a sentient world woven into a conscious, unified field, moving through every rock, ripple, gust, and root. Where modern science dissects, disqualifies, and dismisses ancient cultures, bowed their heads in reverence. Modern science, with petri dishes, beakers, Bunsen burners, measuring sticks, and microscopes, reduces them to data points and quantum chemical processes. But the ancient ones knew better. The medicine people, forest dwellers, and desert wanderers listened, and the land spoke. They knew the river was a voice, the wind was a song, the stones were memory, the forests, old as time, were dreaming beings of who remembered every footstep. The oceans are not just salty puddles, they are ancient beings moving with intention. We were never alone in this world. We only forgot how to listen. To call it Earth is to name a fraction of its being. It is a sacred intelligence, here and beyond here, awake in ways our language barely allows us to describe. It is not a random accident or meaningless chunk of matter orbiting a star. It is not a dead slab of rock. It never was. Earth is a body, mind, spirit, and heart, layered in dimensions beyond what our senses detect. It is a consciousness, sentient, multi-layered, ancient intelligence, a breathing grid of energy and intention, pulsing and humming with the original codes of creation. The Bible teaches directly from the opening pages of Genesis that the earth was created fixed and immovable, enclosed within a structure known as the firmament, a dome-like expanse separating the waters above from the waters below, declaring the handiwork of its creator. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven." Genesis 1:6-8. The heavens declare a glory of God. I say that again. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth his handiwork. We all know that is Psalms 19:1. Job also spoke of this vast enclosure. He hath compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. Job 26:10. And hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass. Job 37:18. Isaiah adds to this vision of immensity. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Isaiah 40:22. Ezekiel described the crystalline majesty of this structure. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, and the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above it. Ezekiel 1:22-26. This firmament was described as solid, a barrier holding back the heavens with the sun, moon, and stars set within it. The great vault above containing the waters and marking out the dwelling place of light. The layers of atmosphere within this enclosure were understood to be gases, elements that require containment. Scripture further speaks of the four corners of the earth. Isaiah 11:12, and of the winds restrained until their appointed time. And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Revelation 7:1. And Ecclesiastes bears witness to the eternal pathways of the wind. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. Ecclesiastes 1:6. A poetic yet literal framing of a world ordered and sustained by divine design, reminding us that creation is structured, directional, and infused with purpose. This is not a minor detail. The second law of thermodynamics is a natural, observable, measurable law. It states that gas expands violently to fill the available volume unless contained by a barrier. It seeks equilibrium, always moving from high to low pressure. The first law of thermodynamics, the conservation of energy, demonstrates this as clearly as the second. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Electromagnetism, motion, and the cycles of life all follow precise, consistent rules. Each is evidence of intelligence behind the system, a rational order that cannot arise from randomness alone. Herein lies the transition. Pardon me. Herein lies the tension. Modern cosmology, built on the model of an oblate spheroid Earth spinning through space, proposes that our atmosphere clings to this planet, thinning gradually through atmospheric layers such as the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere, until it gives way to the vacuum of space. Yet this raises a question. How does a pressurized gas system persist adjacent to an infinite vacuum without any solid barrier, without violating natural laws modern science claims to uphold? According to classical thermodynamics, gas cannot exist next to a vacuum without containment. If the firmament is not there, what is? If the ancients were wrong, why do their descriptions align with natural law in ways modern models gloss over? Within this firmament are multiple layers or heavens stacked one upon the other, dimensional thresholds leading upward beyond the visible sky. Ancient texts like the Book of Enoch detail these heavens as separate realms, each with its own laws, beings, and purposes, culminating in the highest heaven, the dwelling place of the Most High. These were not metaphorical realms, but real, tangible dimensions of reality, different vibrational planes, layered above the earth, through which one would pass on the way to the divine realms. The firmament was not merely a ceiling and earth abasement, but a multidimensional structure, physical and spiritual, acting as a veil between worlds. Is God real? Objectively? If you seek proof, observe the unwavering predictability of these laws. Chemical reactions unfold with precision. Energy balances itself without fail. Systems maintain order according to fixed principles. Such consistency, universal and independent of human will, points directly to a conscious, intelligent creator. Where there is law, there must be a lawgiver. The natural order itself, unyielding, deliberate, and measurable, testifies to the existence of a mind that designed it all. In contrast, modern cosmology asks us to believe in a Big Bang, a spontaneous, explicable explosion of an infinitely dense, hot singularity, bringing about a rapid expansion into a vast, lawless void we call the cosmos. A cosmic accident. No creator, no firmament, no heavens stacked above, just a speck of rock orbiting a star, drifting through an endless vacuum. This is not religion versus science, Coke versus Pepsi. It is about bold, honest, and unflinching inquiry, about recognizing that ancient cosmologies may have encoded wisdom modernity abandoned too quickly in its race to conquer the heavens, while attempting to explain everything but understanding nothing. What do you think? One more? Yeah, we'll do one more. All right. This is yoga AF. Like, speaking of ancients, predating Hinduism, a lot of these are overlapping with like Upanishads and scriptures from the yogis. Interesting. Chapter 4. A name drawn from dust. How are you guys doing? Sorry, before I... Four Jacks, Nate, Sunny Landish, LF. Hello, everybody. Whoops. Almost lost my stream there saying hi. Who else do we have? Did I miss anybody? Koresh. All right, we're good? We're good. Mr. Bird. Really? I hope I'm doing an okay job, honestly. I feel a bit like a robot, but I am not here for compliments on my voice. I am here because this book is really cool. And once again, worthy of mentioning, you too can be the owner of a Kindle, a hardcover, or a paperback version of this fine literature. In the top of the bar is what I put in. True Earth Whisperer book, Sunny Davis. Boom. Right there. So yes, don't rely on me. Go get your own copy. Okay, I'm going to slam some water here and then we'll do one more chapter, guys. I'm going to have to do this in parts, but thank you so much for joining me. A little story time here. A little story time. It's not bedtime, just story time. Chapter 4. A name drawn from dust. Let God be true and every man a liar. Romans 3:4. In the quiet heart of the earth, where motion ceases and time softens, lies the sacred axis, the unmoving center around which all life unfolds. To return is to remember that stillness is the pulse of creation, the breath beneath the breath, and the home where truth is felt. Return to stillness. There is a moment in the soul's journey when silence grows louder than speech. It comes not in the sanctuary of temples, nor in the echo of sermons, but in the lonely hour when all that is false begins to burn away. Truth remains. And that truth is not forged by the minds of men, nor shaped by their trembling hands. To say that God is true and every man a liar is not a condemnation of humanity. It is a revelation. It is the peeling away of veils. It is the breaking of mirrors in which we saw only our distortions and never the light behind them. Man, in all his effort, constructs truths from dust and breathes them into illusion. But God speaks and the universe answers. This verse is not meant to wound the thinker, nor silence the questioner. It invites the seeker to stand at the edge of the known and surrender to the vastness. When Scripture declares that every man is a liar, it does not mock the yearning for understanding. It speaks instead to the limits of flesh-bound knowledge. Every philosophy, every proud tower of intellect, every glittering creed crafted by man stands before the divine as a shadow before the sun. God is true. That is to say, God is. Truth does not reside in him as a possession. It radiates from him as an essence. He does not argue for it. He does not persuade. He simply remains when all else fails. To live by this truth is to unlearn the world. It is to wake each morning and ask not what is permitted or what is popular, but what is eternal. It is to bow the ear to the whisper behind thunder, to listen for the still voice that spoke before time began. You will hear many voices. Some will call themselves truth. Some will dress in the robes of wisdom and walk with the gait of certainty. But you must weigh every word against the word that never passes away. In the end, all lies are not merely errors. They are fragments of truth, misaligned, shadows mistaken for source, and even the wisest man, if he speaks apart from God, speaks only in riddles. So sit in stillness, let the truth of God rise in you like the morning sun. Let it burn away every falsehood you mistook for identity. Let it wound you, for it will also heal. The truth of God does not flatter, yet it does not forsake. It is fierce and tender, like fire that purifies gold. Every man is a liar, not because he desires to deceive, but because he is dust speaking of the stars. Let God be true. Let his silence be your compass. Let his presence be your answer. And when all other voices fade, let that one voice remain. The voice that is not silent, the voice that is truth. Let us root ourselves strictly in the world of the Bible, not in theories, models, or NASA composites. What did people believe about the earth when scripture was written? Across ancient cultures, Babylonian, Hebrew, Egyptian, Vedic, Norse, there was a united vision. The earth was flat, immovable, and covered by a solid dome. This was not isolated myth, but a common worldview long before the peoples met. In our modern age, steeped in scientism, we are told otherwise, that we live on a spinning, wobbling sphere, hurtling through infinite space at incomprehensible speeds. Yet the Bible speaks a different truth. In Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is the foundation. Soon after, Genesis 1:6 declares, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. The word firmament is key. From the Hebrew rakia, it means to hammer out or spread like beaten metal, a structure, not empty space. The Lexham English Bible renders it as vaulted dome. The Complete Jewish Bible also calls it dome. A vaulted dome is a solid form with strength and definition. Job 37:18 asks, can you, like him, spread out the skies, hard as cast metal mirror? The King James Version says, hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as molten looking glass? These are not mere poetry, but descriptions of a sky seen as firm and crafted. Psalm 19:1 tells us, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. The Complete Jewish Bible echoes, the dome of the sky speaks the work of his hands. If firmament were simply sky, it would say the sky of the sky. No, a structured firmament speaks of design, divine design. Consider Joshua 10:13, where the sun and moon stand still at command. They stop their motion. The earth does not. Had the earth been spinning and suddenly halted, catastrophe would follow. Yet Scripture says only the sun and moon pause. Moreover, the earth was created before the sun, raising the question, what was earth orbiting? Job 38:14 reveals, it is turned as clay to the seal, like a seal pressed into soft clay, shaping a form with edges. The earth appears flat and bounded. Ancient maps and documents depict a flat circle with an upturned edge, a wall containing waters. In the 1930s, Auguste Piccard, first to reach the stratosphere in a pressurized capsule, described as Earth as a flat disk with an upturned edge. Not a globe spinning wildly, but a disk contained by a boundary. This matched ancient depictions from many cultures and echoes the biblical firmament and boundary waters. Why was this view lost? Why does the narrative of a spinning globe dominate? Psalm 104:5 affirms, the Lord established the earth upon its foundations, and it shall not be moved forever. 1 Chronicles 16:30 states, the world also shall be stable, that it be not moved. These verses insist on an earth set firm, unmoving, not orbiting or tilting. Such descriptions repeat through Psalms, Job, Isaiah, and the prophets. If ancient peoples had no means to collude, what explains this interwoven vision? Could it be divine revelation? Even if scripture reflects their worldview, it was the belief of the writers. So the question remains, do you accept the Bible as truth? Romans 1:20 says, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Read that again. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Step outside and ask yourself, does it feel like I'm moving? Do the sun and moon move across the sky as described? Can you see the evidence of a firmament, the handiwork of God above? Can the earth truly be unmoving, or is scripture mere ancient poetry, irrelevant to our age? I choose to take it seriously. When I look up and all around, I see order, structure, intent, intelligence. I see design. And I wonder what else is hidden in plain sight. So why do we call it Earth? Why Venus, Mars, Jupiter? These names come from myth and empire. They are divine titles carved into the sky by cultures who worship the wandering lights above. Earth, however, was never adorned with a mask. Earth was always already here. Its name arose not from myth, but from mud, from the tongues of farmers, poets, burial rites, and seasonal rituals, from Erda to Iorpe and Erda to Arde. It meant ground, land, soil, dwelling. Earth is the place beneath our feet, not an idea, but a presence. Even the Latin word terra remains humble and maternal. Terra, mater, mother, earth. The generative force beneath the sky gods who stood upon her back. The name comes from closeness and continuity. Earth was cradle, grave, hearth. It held blood and bones, seeds and songs. The sacred was not sought above, but known in the rhythm of rainfall and the curve of a hill. Earth is not stage, but spirit. To name this realm was to kneel, to honor what is beneath, not above. While sky names dazzle, they require telescopes and textbooks. Earth demands only that you stand still, remove your shoes, and remember. Earth is prima materia, the raw substance from which all forms arise. It is the axis mundi, the unmoving pillar at the center of all motion. Every temple, sacred tree, mountain sanctuary echoes this immovable center, not above or below, but within. When we say earth, we name this center. The indigenous mind knows it still. Earth is alive, intelligent, present. Gaia, Pachamama, Aluna, Sophia, the dreamer and dreamed, memory and mother, mirror and map. We are not separate from her. We are the dreaming of the earth. The name endures because it is true. Here lies a final mystery. Earth is an anagram of heart. This is no accident. The ancients knew the true axis is not celestial, but the unmoving center of stillness, the magnetic plane of balance, the radiant pulse of coherence and care. What grounds us is not gravity, but love, magnetism, resonance. A quiet invitation hums beneath the rumble. The ancients remembered what we have forgotten. The true center is within. What grounds us is love and stillness, a living pulse at the unmoving heart of the earth. We are always invited back to the ground of our being, to the magnetic plane of inertia, to the sacred axis that does not move, where stillness lives, where truth is felt, where home is remembered. Return. I thank you all for joining me. This is really cool. I've never done this before, and I'm really digging this book. So please do return for part 2. We cranked out the first 4 chapters today, and if you don't want to wait for me, then by all means, don't forget Amazon, True Earth Whisperer book. Sunny Davis brings you right to this, and it is available at a humble price, guys. Come on. Kindle, hardcover, and paperback. So get your copy today. In the meantime, thank you guys. Gosh, there's a lot of you here. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to return to this in the very near future and continue till we're done. And then we can have a big chat about what we think and anything we've taken from it. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hope I'm not doing a terribly shitty job. That's a big worded book. I'm trying my best. Thank you, JJ, Sunny, Nate, Soups, Koresh, Aleph, Corey Cox. I think that's everyone in the chat. To any of you that are just watching and listening, thank you. And we will catch you on the flip side for sure. Be well, be merry, and thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you soon.